Hey, gang. Bill Caskey here. Good morning. We're live today. I'm glad you're with me. We go live occasionally on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn, and we're going to be recording the podcast. It'll be released actually today later. So you are on the cutting edge, the cusp of Bill Caskey podcast content for whatever that's worth. I always remind people at the outset of this, if you have not subscribed to this channel, if you're on YouTube, make sure you do so, and also click the bell for notifications. Funny story. My almost 6-year-old granddaughter, we shoot videos up here in the studio, and I interview her, and she gets a kick out of it. And she was finishing up her rant the other night. She goes on these long monologues, and she can see herself, so it's really cute. And she just gets all excited and just very precise and intentional. And at the very end of this little rant, she goes, "By the way, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you do so and click the bell so you're notified." I'm like, oh my God, YouTube has seeped into the young people. It's not even a channel. It's just that was what people say at the end. So that's what she said. So welcome. And if you want to go to Bill Caskey, learn more, billcaskey.com. We have programs starting consistently, constantly. And if you want to jump on a call with me, if you have a sales team that you want to talk to me about training, that's cool. You know, I get a lot of calls from VPs of sales and CEOs. And if you are one of those, I think that the best thing to talk about on these calls is just where are you going? What do you want your team to look like in a year or 2 years? What do you want them to be really skilled at and master? And that's part of that casting of the vision. We can talk about the problems and how your people aren't closing a high enough percentage. That's fine. But I'm more interested in the future. And where are you going, and how can I maybe or somebody like me help you get there? So those are some of the questions that I ask on those calls. Today, I want to talk about a topic that it's a little bit of inside baseball. You're going to hear some things today that you probably haven't heard before. Sounds like I'm going to go into a cursing rage. No, just some things, some kind of inside tech stuff. And I'm going to share this with you because I think we all need to be at a different mindset about digital media, platform building, a mindset around all that. And I have witnessed so many times, here's the situation. So many times people come to me and say, Bill, I want to grow my business. I want to go from 150 to 3 or from 3 to 7 or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. And I want to develop a plan. And let's say this person is in a territory of 3 states, somewhere in the South, in the Northwest, whatever. And I want to develop a plan, and I want to grow my business. And the instant I bring up digital media, it's like they turn and skedaddle. They're out of here. And I constantly am wondering, what is that? What is that about just the concept of going live on a program like this, or podcasting, or whatever it is for you? Could be writing, could be anything. What is there about that? And I have found the answer. I have found the answer. I'm not going to tell you what the answer is. No, I will tell you what the answer is. The answer has to do with how we see ourselves and our mindset and how we were brought up. And many of us were brought up in working class families where you kind of conform. You don't get too far out of line. If you were brought up in a large family, you really couldn't get out of line because the parents of the family were trying to keep it all together and keeping everybody, dressed the right way and don't have ice cream on their nose. And so there's always this element of conformity in most of what we do. It's the tall poppy syndrome in Australia. It's the imposter syndrome that you've heard about. And I'm convinced that's our problem, is that we don't do this because we're afraid of what people will think, that we're trying to be some kind of high and mighty or all that, or whatever the term is today. And I think we've got to get past that. I do these because I want to share things that I have learned and that I know work with my audience. Sometimes my audience could be tens of thousands, sometimes it could be hundreds, sometimes it can be one. I've had videos where one person shows up. I don't care, because I'm getting better at communicating it, at documenting it. It's also with YouTube. You can use it for your sales process, et cetera, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But the key thing here as we start down this path of what I'm doing to double down in 2023 is that you've got to get into a different mindset. You can't take the 70s mindset with you into 2023. And most people do. You do. I do. We all do. So we need to get out of that. And so I'm telling you this up front because a little bit of what we're going to talk about today, it rests upon you getting out of that mindset and getting into a sharing and generous way. Okay, so that's that. What am I going to double down on in 2023? Three things. Number one, I've already started these. I've already started this one, and that's doubling down on social media, especially LinkedIn. And we engaged a virtual assistant, Naomi, I think she might listen, to help us. I have an entire list of 200 quotes, things that I've said, things that I'm attributing to other people. I've got them all in a Google Doc. All she does every week is go to Canva, which is the design package that we use. It's $10 a month. It's easy. It's an awesome package. A lot of big hitters use it. And she just deposits those quotes into a graphic and posts them on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, maybe somewhere else that I don't even know about. And so on a Monday, she's sending out a quote card, and this is something you could learn from, and you can do too. On Monday, it's a quote. On Tuesday, it's an article that I write that I have 5 or 6 already in the bank. On Wednesday, it's another quote. On Thursday, I think it's a quote. And on Friday, it's a video that I do. So every day, and you may have noticed this, every day on LinkedIn, you're getting something from me. If we're connected and if the algorithm behaves. So what have I noticed? In the first 60 days, we've been doing this since August 1st, maybe middle of July. I can't remember. I have had 5 inbound prospecting calls, 3 of which have ended up in new business. 2 are pending, and I have another one today. So the point here is that I want inbound. I want to be inbound with my leads. I want you to be inbound with your leads. I want people reaching out to you and saying, how can I get with you? Can I set up an appointment? I'd like to talk with you. Here's my problem. And you don't think that's possible. And you know what? It ain't possible if you're not doing something to put yourself out there on social and creating content and allowing the world to sample your philosophy and your work. So I'm doubling down on social. I've already done it. Every day there's something going out. It's all repurposed on Facebook and Instagram, maybe Twitter. I don't think we're using Twitter in this case. So there's something going on all the time. Okay, so that's number one. I'm doubling down on social. I want you to as well. And if you need a virtual assistant, there's plenty of, there's Zirtual. We use Zirtual, Zirtual. I'm not an affiliate, so I don't make anything on this. There's another one that I just heard about. There's a lot of them out there. And you're going to pay $30 to $35 an hour. Most of them have $400 to $500 packages. But you've got to start getting in this framework of, is it worth $6,000 a year to pay a virtual person to post every day in your, on your platforms? You have to decide that. You have to decide how many pieces of business you will need to do that. So that's number one, social. Number 2, video. You know, I have come to the conclusion, I've come to a lot of conclusions in the last couple of weeks. I don't know what it is. I'm in a conclusion frame of mind. Come to the conclusion that my role with you and with my clients is not as a sales trainer or a sales coach. I know that's the category that people put me in. It's a category that I've willingly been in for the last 30 years. But I'm not interested in that specifically. Because when someone comes to me and says, I want to grow my business, let's say I'm a professional salesperson, business to business, have a territory. I want to grow from 150,000 a year to 300 or $1 million in territory sales to 3 million. It is usually not a sales problem. It's not a sales problem. It's a coverage problem. It's an audience problem. It's a connection problem. It's an engagement with your audience problem. There's a lot of issues when it comes to radically improving and growing your business. And most of the time, it's not how do I ask the question better, or how do I share with them the process that I'm taking them through. Now, there are elements of that are important, and you need to be able to communicate your message. You need to have your message. You need to have a marketing plan. You need to have some mechanics around that. Yes, we do all of that. But when I look at a problem to solve, especially when it comes to growing a business, it has to include things that have nothing to do with traditional sales coaching. And one of those is what I'm doing here. And you can deny it, and you can run from it, and you can say, geez, I'm 50 years old. I wonder if I can last another 15 years without shooting a video. I think I can. Okay. You just won't make as much money. You would just sell yourself short, and your family, and your company, but most of all yourself. And then at some point, you'll pick up a camera or a microphone or whatever, and you'll say, okay, Caskey, I'll do it. I'll just do it about a dozen times though, and then I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore. And then after a dozen times, you'll say, why the hell didn't I do this 27 years ago? I know you well, so you might as well start it now. I'm doubling down on video. We're going live each week. We're recording the podcast live. We're putting it on YouTube. What do I think will happen? I have no freaking idea. I have no clue. I do know that YouTube gets a lot of search traffic. And if we title these videos appropriately and we put a good description in there and these start to take off, people will eventually call me and want to spend money with me and want to hire our team to help them grow their business. So video, I suggest you get into it in some way, even if it's just answering a handful of questions. Maybe you write out 7 to 10 frequently asked questions and do a video on each one. I've got a client in Australia who just did that. And he actually interviewed people who were experts in his industry. He's in the business brokerage business industry niche. And he interviewed people, and then he clipped out those interviews, and he took the question that he asked during the interview, like, how do I know I'm ready to buy something? And he just put it on a thumbnail. And now that's going out on YouTube. It's going out on Facebook, on LinkedIn. So he's clipped this out. You've heard of Joe Rogan. You know who Joe Rogan is, like him or not. You can say that he's built a kind of a media empire. And he is on Spotify now, but he has a huge YouTube channel called Clips, JRE Clips. And sometimes the Clips channels get many more. Patrick Bet-David, I heard about a story with him the other day. He interviewed Jordan Peterson. He's a professor in Canada and kind of a culture author. And they had 700,000 views of the video on YouTube of Jordan Peterson. He took that video and clipped it out like little 2 or 3 minute segments where the question or the challenge or something happened in the interview, 2 or 3 minutes. He put, I think, 12 or 15 of those up. Those clips have gotten 11 million views collectively, 11 million. So if you're a calculator, or if you have a calculator, I guess you could be a calculator if you're an accountant, CFO. That's 15 times ish, 15 times. So clips are important. Double down on video. That's number 2. Number 3, we are going to double down on audio. We've moved our, here we go, inside tech, inside baseball. But we've moved our platform from one to another where we can insert roles and front roles and back roles and mid roles and ads, and you don't really even care about that. But if you actually start a podcast, which I would recommend you doing, and you don't have to start a long podcast that's going to last for 15 years like the Advanced Selling podcast has, or a few years like the Bill Caskey podcast, like this one. But what if you did 12 episodes? What if you took the most important 12 concepts, trends, misconceptions in your business, whatever the 12 consists of, and you do 12-minute episodes, 144 minutes, and that's it. That's all. You're just doing 12. You're not doing every week for the next 50 years. You're just doing 12. We call it a pop-up series. It's a mini series. It's like a Netflix mini series. Doesn't go forever, has a beginning, has an end. You take the most important 12 things, you talk about them. Now, guess what? You become the expert in those 12 things. And if you have a potential client who you are working with and they have a problem that you've talked about on one of your podcast episodes, guess what you send them? No, not a basket of flowers. No, not a Harry and David's cookie basket. No, you send them that podcast. You can send them the Harry and David's too, but you send them the podcast. You send them a link. Now they listen to you explaining the situation that they're in. Who do you think's going to have position in their mind? Who do you think's going to be seen as the expert and the resource? It's like, well, shit, why aren't we going with Phil over here? He just talked about it. He's got 10 other episodes that I listened to 4 of them. They were good. You ought to listen to them. Phil's the guy. He's well known in the industry. You don't have to be well known, but you have a podcast, you're published. Okay. So we're doubling down on podcasting. We may even go to a more frequent schedule. I don't know. I got to check with Travis. He's probably watching this saying, what are we doing now? But we may go to a more frequent schedule, and we're going to change platforms so we can insert interesting things and ads and things like that in it. So I hope that is helpful for you. Those are the 3 things I'm doubling down on. The themes here: being generous with your content, being generous. Don't shill every time you're on a program or when you're posting something. Don't make everything about you and how you want to sell something. Be generous with your advice. Be generous with your information, your knowledge, your skills. Help someone, serve people. It really does make a difference. And then just be authentic. You know, from listening to me and watching me, here's my notes for today. It's a mind map with the 3 things around it, and then off to the right here or whatever, well, I guess it's over here, are those 3 themes. And the 3rd theme is just authenticity. I don't want to be somebody who has to read a script. That is totally inauthentic for me. Even if I wrote it, I need to be in the mode of moving and flexible. And if I think of something while I'm talking, I can write it down and come back to it. But I want you to do the same thing. I want you to be authentic. If you need notes, that's authentically you. I don't like notes, so I wouldn't do well there. So those are the 3 things: generosity, service to my audience, and authenticity. And if you can keep those 3 things around whatever you're doubling down on, I think you've got a real gift. If you want to go to BillCaskey.com, well, if you want to go there, you know you can go there. You do not need my permission. We open up a high achiever mentoring group occasionally. We are going to be taking applications and calls on that over the next 90 days. So if you are interested in having a group coaching experience at a nominal monthly fee that helps you grow your skills, grow your business, you jump on a call with me and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. You can go to, if you want to learn more, go to BillCaskey.com/HAMP. I think I'll put it in the show notes and you can learn a little bit more about it. See you next time. Love comments. Don't forget, as my granddaughter Sawyer says, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. See you next time.